Hey gang, this is Andy over in Temecula here at the Falco Canine Academy Facebook page. We're doing some mold detection training today, and one of the things I was just getting ready to talk to our team over here about is when hiding the aids. And I believe I'm also simulcasting in our bed bug detection dog group. So when you're hiding training aids, there's a few things you need to make sure and keep in mind when you're hiding the training aids and you're setting yourself up to do some training. And we're going to talk about Brad here also in his business here with mold detection and his dogs, 86 and 99, which is really cool because I'm a huge Get Smart fan. But let's stick to the task. Can somebody bring me one of the training aids over there? And so as you're getting ready to do training, it's great to do training, but you got to make sure and set yourself up in the proper way because, of course, we want success. We want to make sure the dogs can actually smell the training aids. And Brad's bringing one over here. There's his hand. You kind of saw there. Actually, maybe you didn't. So we got Stocky Boitris. You know, I've been working with mold for how long? 15 years. And I still don't know the names of the stupid things. All right, so you got your training aids, and you can see that they're inside of a container because we don't want to actually come in contact with them. There's a little hole that allows the odor to come out. That's important to know because same thing with the bed bugs. You have your bed bug containers, and then you have the one place where the odor can come out that you need to actually just keep in mind that how little odor will actually be coming out of the vial. Because remember, as you move it around, you're probably reducing the amount of odor inside the container because you're moving it around, so it causes a vacuum effect. It'll pull out what's in there. So when you place it somewhere, now you have to wait for the odor to fill up the container again before it starts bleeding out whatever openings you might have. So really important to keep that in mind because as you're moving around and going to put it somewhere, so let's just say I were to put it behind these drawers, and essentially hide it back there so the dog cannot see it, and so you couldn't see it as you're doing your search, Taylor. The person hiding needs to know exactly where they're putting it and how long it needs to sit before the odor can come out to a place where the dog can actually smell it. Because what can happen if you don't wait long enough, you come in and do your search with your dog misses it, and you're going, oh, what a piece of crap dog. The dog didn't find it. It's obvious, it's right there. You know, why didn't the dog find it? Well, we didn't wait long enough for the odor to actually get out to where the dog can smell it. So really important to know where you're putting it. So something like this where it's laying on the ground, you probably don't have to wait that long. So on the drawer, I think I can still be seen there. On a drawer, wow. As you have the drawer here, you can see in the drawer you have, can you hold that? Go ahead. Yeah, can make an appearance there. So you have a container essentially where you have walls on all four sides, and you put the container inside the drawer, and then you push it shut into, whatever drawer system you're having, a cabinet you're pushing it into. Now, what I say before, you have your container where the odor has to fill up the container. The odor has to now come out and then begin to fill up this container, right? And then it fills up the container, and then once it does, then it begins to spill over. And especially when it's a closed environment, when you close the drawer, there's really no breeze getting in there that's going to actually push it out. Right? Especially if it gets seated pretty well on the face of the drawer against that thing. So the only way that odor often has a possibility coming out is on the back side of the drawer. If any of you were to look to any of your drawers, whether you go in your bedroom and look at your drawer and pull it open a little bit and look, you can see there's usually a space about this big on the back side, and the front side is sealed up against the front when you have it closed. So where's the odor going to go? Out the back, right? So when we bring our dog across the front of a chest of drawers, for instance, you're thinking the dog should be able to smell it, but not always, because the odor is going out the back. And so where do dogs often find the odor? It's on the back side of the chest of drawers. As the dog comes around to the back side and smells it, you get an alert. You go, what a dumb dog. It's on the third drawer up, and the dog can't find it on the face. And why are they finding it down here on the floor on the back? What a stupid dog. No. That's where the odor's going, and that's where the dog can find the odor. And then we start, having not that much confidence in our dog, or even the handler, like dumb handler, and that kind of stuff. So sometimes the dog's simply only telling you where the odor is. So really important that set time. So the set time for the odor when I was telling you put up here against the wall would be maybe 10 minutes. In a drawer like this, you might want to wait a good 20, 30, depending on the temperature side of the room, maybe even a half hour, 45 minutes. So when you're training here, your office is right around the corner. You could come in the morning and set some hides for Taylor in here, and then she comes in later afternoon. That would be almost more realistic. Because remember, either mold or bed bugs in some cases explosives and narcotics, they've been sitting in a real world scenario in that location for a very long period of time. Mold has been there for days, weeks, months before we've actually even had the effects on the human being, right? Because it takes a while sometimes for us to get affected by mold, right? And so the mold's been sitting there for a very long time. You're doing a great job, by the way. Actually, don't put it over there. You're going to have to put it over there because it's got a mold, it's got a training aid inside there. I see somebody's commenting on here. Kim, never would I call my Lola a piece of, I'm sure you wouldn't. I like them. I like dumb handler better. Yeah, dumb handler, smart, beautiful dogs. Right? The dogs are never. We were just talking about that earlier. Quite often, when we have something going on with our dogs, we can look at the human being as being probably the source of that problem, and that's true. But I don't like to say that all the time because then the handlers get their feelings hurt, and then they have a tougher time writing checks for the training. All right, so does that all make sense with the training aids and that kind of stuff? So just keep that in mind. It just depends. Sometimes set time is fast. Sometimes it needs to sit for a little bit longer. I was talking about an ice rink that I hid some explosives in for dog training, and many of the dogs missed it. And we had waited. I think we placed them, went to lunch, and came back. And about an hour and the dogs still missed it because it's too cold. The molecules of scent move slower in cold and don't come out to where the dog can smell it. So really important. All right, so Taylor, we are going to do a search on this room, and I'm going to move Brad's tripod here. That's right. So this is Taylor. Taylor, say hi.
Hello.
Might not hear you. I'm going to point this down a little bit more, so you're going to cut off our heads, but we want to be able to see the dog. And this will be the second time I've worked with Taylor. And Taylor and Daisy, Agent 86. Her original name was Daisy, and so it's been changed to 86 because it keeps with the theme of. We didn't talk about the business yet. We'll do the search, and then we'll talk about your business. And so Taylor is a new handler. I was here a couple months ago and got to meet her for the first time, and they have a really good connection. So it's been working out really well. Agent 86, I almost did it again, is a mold detection dog. So what I want you to do is do a search with no direction based on what it is you've been doing since I last saw you. And then we'll identify any issues, if any, and there's probably not going to be, but just to conduct a search in this room. You don't need to turn left around any corners or go in any rooms. We're just going to stay in this location here.
And do you want it off leash or on leash?
Oh, I don't know. How would you search this if this was a client and you needed to come in here and search?
I'm going to try off leash.
Okay. Nice. So the off-leash is often, I'm not talking to you, Taylor. Keep on searching. I went over there, remember, during my demonstration and touched a bunch of things with the mold. Keep searching. She's not wrong. Just continue your search. So that's another thing to remember when you're hiding finds, not to touch a whole bunch of stuff. Because that will happen. The odor from your hands will get transferred over to the things that you are touching. Nice. So I was going to talk about off-leash. Off-leash is great. It takes away some of the influences of you off of the dog. With the leash, you can pull on the leash. You can tug on the leash at an inappropriate time. You can see that Agent 86. I don't know. You're telling that's your dog. So Taylor just asked me if there was some mold there. What do you think? Looks like there is because you saw some mold in there, or because of, all right. All we're concerned about is the dog. Tell me what the dog is telling you.
She's telling me that there is mold.
How is she telling you that?
She's sitting.
Yeah.
And she keeps pointing at
Is there anything about her mannerism that tells you that there's mold there as opposed to what she was doing over here?
She's very attentive on me.
Attentive. Yep.
She's looking directly at me. She's pretty confident.
Yeah. Do you see her licking her lips every time she goes there?
Oh, I do that.
Yeah, watch her again. Watch when she goes to the right spot again. See that?
She does like her.
Yeah. A dog does that most often because they're confirming with the taste of the air, of the odor. Right? They smell through their nose and their mouth. And I say they're tasting it, but they could be tasting it. It could be just another form of smelling through their mouth. And so you'll often see a dog lick its lips. So in a what would be like I said, I don't think this is a false alert. I think it was just the residual from my hands and that kind of stuff. As opposed to when they're actually at the source of odor, the dog will sniff intently, like you said. The look in their eye will be a little bit different. Their body language will look different. Don't reward her for that one. She's actually guessing now. Next time she goes to the correct one, we'll reward her one more time. We'll put her on leash so she doesn't keep doing that. There you go. And she'll sit and reward her. Good. All right. Go ahead and put her back on leash and take her away from that area because we're going to drive. Oh, she did it again. Very good. All right. Very good. So go ahead and stop and sit. So we were talking about doing on-leash and off-leash in the beginning, which I don't mind off-leash at all. I like doing off-leash from time to time because it takes away much of what could be your influence by pulling on the leash and that kind of stuff. And it gives you a little distance, allows you to see more of your dog so that you're not so close.
I'm not super good at that yet, so I'm not good at watching. So if she's off leash, I can watch her a little more, and it's easier for me. But
and it also gives you more room to continue walking. One of the things that happens with on leash is that when their dog begins to show interest, it causes the person to stop because they don't want to pull the dog off. Off leash allows you to kind of keep on going, which you ended up all the way over here, which was I loved. And then she went back on her own and said, hey, wait a minute. There's something over there, right? If you had had the dog on leash, it would have been harder for her to do that. You may have been looking right, and she's going left, and you may not have seen that she was.
I was going to come over here and do the border of the room, but if I would have kept going, and she was kind of like no, because she was off leash. So yeah.
And if you're on leash, you might not have done that. So she took you back, was able to confirm. It was very interesting about how far she went before in her mind she's going, you know what? Gosh darn it. I think there's something back over there.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
So that's good. So you're reading all those things. All those signs are really important to see when the dog is actually sitting, to see the additional things. Because when you have over here where she just sat, you didn't see all those extra things, right? The intense look.
She kind of looked at me for questioning, like for confirmation, like, is there mold here? Yeah.
She was asking you the question. That's really good. We talk about in our dog training that when the dog is asking you questions, that means they're not sure and they're looking for help. Quite often, unfortunately, handlers give the dog the help, and that we go, no, we want to give them the question back. I don't know. Yeah. You tell me. And that's kind of what we did there. Some people.
I've never hid the mold in that socket, so I thought she was false cueing when she first did it, and I was like, dang it. And then she was pretty strong, so I didn't know that the mold was there. So that's good.
That was good. You did a good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let me come back over here. We have a couple more finds we're going to do here, but I just wanted you to see one. Let's see. 99 and 86. Yes, Paul Byer. Daria Adams is on. Nice, Daria, to see you. Who else is on here? Oh, we got a whole bunch of people. What the heck happened? Sarah, nice to see you. Kim and Paul. Awesome information. You're welcome. It's always your fault. Yeah, it's always your fault, Kim, with your dog. All right, yeah, so Paul, I'm glad to see you on there. I hope everything's well with you. Let's back up a little bit because my head's getting cut off, and I know people really want to see my face. All right, so it's so important to learn about your dog and to see the things that are different when they're in odor as opposed when they're doing other stuff. You know, one thing I get asked all the time in court cases is that, can a handler know when their dog is in odor and out of odor, that kind of stuff? You know, do they have the ability to read their dog? And the answer is yes. But we have to know when the dog is interested in dog urine on the ground and narcotics or mold that are in the wall like that. There's going to be sometimes a distinct difference. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes the interest in food is the same with food reward dogs. So if there's food in the trash can and the dog will show sudden interest in the trash can, they think, well, there might be mold in there. Not always, because the look is very often very much the same. Dogs that are trained with toy reward. If we don't train our dogs to ignore toys, you're going to get that same excited behavior that you get when they find the item that they've been trained to find, because essentially what they think that marijuana, mold, or methamphetamine or bombs is, no, they just think it's their toy because we've trained them to think it's their toy. Right? So I find it interesting that some people say, well, my dog looks different when he's finding a toy as opposed to when he's finding mold. No, it's the same because we've trained the dog that it's the same. Right? That's what they're searching for, is the promise that they're going to get that toy. Right? So you got to be very careful when we're looking at our dogs to analyze the whole package, everything. So when a dog has his head in a trash can and wagging his tail and getting all excited, as opposed to smelling the wall, that should be two different things to the handler, right? it's trash can. It's not that you're going to beat your dog for doing that or kick him or say horrible dog. No, it's just like, nah, it's probably something else. I'll keep that in mind, right? It'll be something maybe you'll look in just to see, but that's really not our focus if we're a mold detection team, right? We want to find stuff hidden in walls that we can't get to without opening them up and tearing out the wall, right? Or pulling up the carpet and that kind of stuff. So depending on where your interest is and where your alert is important, but also based on what it is your dog looks like before they sit or as they're sitting. That's
So you
all.
should know your dog.
Yes, really, you just need, it's all information. Your job as the handler is to put it all together and make a determination. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to look in the trash can, but it's not as much of a concern because what can we do with the trash can? Take it out, throw it away. But alert over here is really much better information because now we know, well, we need to cut a hole in the wall or stick a microscope type of thing in there. There's a word for it. A borescope. I knew there was a name for it. A borescope in there to look and see inside, right? And so entirely two different things. Very good. All right. So I'm going to see if there's any more questions here before I sign off. I'll probably come back in just a little bit and do this again. Doing well. You're welcome, buddy. I'm glad you're doing well. I know we had a scare there, I think, not too long ago. So I'm glad that you're doing good. All right. That is it for now. Great job. We'll come back and do a little bit something later on. Oh, Brad, come here. Tammy. So before we leave, I wanted to talk a little bit about, so what's the name of the company that has employed these dogs?
Industrial Safety Professionals Incorporated.
Also known as?
I Spy.
Look at you. All right. And why have you decided to use the names 99 and 86 for your dogs?
Because it's a spy, and Maxwell Smart was a spy.
Well, he wasn't. Was he a good spy?
No.
But 99 was a much better spy.
Absolutely.
And we'll pretend that this is a new 86.
It is.
All right. So what types of environments, why would somebody hire your company?
Several reasons. We just did a job where they had because of the heavy rains, their crawl space got wet, got flooded, and it dried, and they thought they had a problem. Mold equals moisture. So we went and checked that out, and yeah, they had a big problem.
Have you ever been to a place where you actually didn't need the dog?
No. I mean, we can do it without because we do visual, you do moisture, you do air sampling, but it's always best to run the dog first.
Because the dog will take you to those places where you might not have normally looked,
Yes.
and can find stuff where you would have to tear something apart.
Absolutely.
It's a big house. Like we would have to sample everywhere.
Yes.
What she said?
Yep.
I couldn't hear.
Oh, it was a big house, so we would have had to sample everywhere.
75,000 square feet. 7,500.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my other house you were at.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I got to sell the dogs for a lot more money in order to get that. Well, I think it's very interesting. I think you guys are one of the last of some of the mold people that were around back when all this first started. Kind of like the bed bug detection dog business. There was this huge rush of all these people getting into the bed bug dog industry. And then you began to see people fall off. And one thing I know for sure is that you guys are the most professional group of not only dog handlers and inspectors that I've seen, but you're nice people too.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. We like you too, Andy.
Except for Taylor. Taylor's a little bit of a pain in the ass. But just kidding. Just kidding. No, she's fantastic. Also, of course, people know me. I've got a little bit of a sense of humor. But I really, truly, I mean, part of running a business to starting this business, it often I found that many people thought once they had the dogs that was going to be it. They could be, the business would come, that they would be self-marketing, and you didn't have to actually run a business in the way that a business needs to be run.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We have to run a business. We have to keep books. We have to keep the dogs trained and every single day.
Yep. And market yourself.
And market ourselves, yep.
The one thing the dogs do is actually add a little bit of an excitement about what can be done with dogs in this. I don't know. People really get interested in dogs. They love seeing dogs, and it adds to your marketing potential.
It does. I mean, when we're on other jobs that aren't mold and we're doing another service and we have the dogs with us, it creates a big interest.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you for coming out here. I'm sorry Brad pushed you out here and to do that, but you did a great job. I'm glad he did because you're much better than he is. All right, guys, we'll be back. Wait, let me make sure nobody has any questions for you. All right, good. We have no questions at this time, but if you have any questions, we're going to be coming back. Keep having to duck down. We'll be coming back to probably another search here after we set up do the next two. We'll set up another search, and actually maybe I'll show you live as I'm hiding some of the finds, so we can talk a little bit more about that. Because I think it's a thing that gets missed. We simply think we can just go hide a bunch of hides somewhere and then go get the dog. It's not complicated, but it's not that simple that you just do that. All right, we'll see you at the next one. Take care.